Welcome to my Essential Philosophy readings. I'm Andrea and I warmly welcome you today. We shall make an homage to one of the greatest pre-Socratic philosophers, and that was Heraclitus or Heraclitus, a Greek philosopher born at Ephesus of distinguished parentage. Of his early life and education, we know nothing, unfortunately, and from the contempt with which he spoke of all of his fellow philosophers and of his fellow citizens as a whole, we may understand and gather that he regarded himself as self-taught, autodidactos, and a pioneer of wisdom. So intensely aristocratic was his temperament that he declined to exercise the regal hieratic office of basileus, which was hereditary in his family, and presented it to his brother. It is probable, however, that he did occasionally intervene in the affairs of the city at the period when the rule of Persia had given place to autonomy. It is said that he compelled the usurper Melancomas to abdicate. From the lonely life he led, and still more from the extreme profundity of his philosophy and his contempt for mankind in general, he was called the dark philosopher or the weeping philosopher, in contrast to Democritus, which he was the laughing philosopher. Kakoi martires, Heraclitus is in a real sense the founder of metaphysics. And starting from the physical standpoint of the Ionian physicist, he accepted their general idea of the unity of nature, but entirely denied their theory of being, which was very essential at the time. The fundamental uniform fact in nature is constant change. Panta, horrei kai, oiden menei, everything both is and is not at the same time. He thus arrives at the principle of relativity. Harmony and unity consist in diversity and multiplicity. The senses are bad witnesses, kakoi, martires. Only the wise man can obtain knowledge. To appreciate the significance of the doctrines of Heraclitus, it must be borne in mind that to Greek philosopher, the sharp distinction between subject and object which pervades modern thought was foreign, a consideration which suggests the conclusion that while it is a great mistake to reckon Heraclitus with the materialistic cosmologists of the Ionic schools, it is, on the other hand, going too far to treat his theory with Hegel and Lassalle as one of pure panlogism. Accordingly, when he denies the reality of being and declares becoming, or eternal flux and change, everlasting change, to be the sole actuality, Heraclitus must be understood to enunciate not only the unreality of the abstract notion of being, except as the correlative of that of non-being, but also the physical doctrine that all phenomena are in a state of continuous transition from non-existence to existence, from non-being to being, and vice versa, without either distinguishing these propositions or qualifying them by any reference to the relation of thought to experience. Heraclitus said that everything is and is not. All things are and nothing remains. So far, he is in general agreement with Anaximander, but he differs from him in the solution of the problem, disliking, as a poet and the mystic, the primary matter which satisfy the patient researcher, and demanding a more vivid and more picturesque element. Naturally, he selects fire, according to him, the most complete embodiment of the process of becoming. this was his apeiron, as the principle of empirical existence, out of which all things, including even the human soul, grow by way of a quasi-condensation, and into which all things must in course of time be again resolved. But this primordial fire is in itself that divine rational process, the harmony of which constitutes the law of that universe, and that is logos. Real knowledge consists in comprehending this all-pervading harmony as embodied in the manifold of perception, and the senses are such bad witnesses because they apprehend phenomena not as its manifestation, but as stiff and dead. In like manner, real virtue consists in the subordination of the individual to the laws of this harmony as the universal reason wherein alone true freedom is to be found and detected. The law of things is a law of reason universal, of logos, but most men live as though they had a wisdom of their own. Ethics here stands to sociology in a close relation, similar in many respects to which we find in Hegel and in positivistic philosophy, particularly in Auguste Comte. For Heraclitus, the soul approaches most nearly to perfection when it is most akin to the fiery vapor out of which is originally created, and as this is most so in death. While we live, our souls are dead in us, but when we die, our souls are restored to life, said Heraclitus. The doctrine of immortality comes prominently forward in his ethics, but whether this must not be reckoned with the figurative accommodation to the popular theology of Greece which pervades his ethical teaching, it's very doubtful. The school of disciples founded by Heraclitus flourished for long after his death, the chief exponent of his teaching being Cratylus. A good deal of the information in regards to his doctrines has been gathered from the later Greek philosophy, which was deeply influenced by it.